Welcome back to the United Stand. Hit the like button. Get this stream shared. Big updates relating to Man United's transfer window. Excited to bring it to you. I was just live with Ben Jacobs, so a very interesting update in relation to Victor Gyokeres. And we've got to hope, we've got to pray as Man United fans that Arsenal get the business done with Šeško. We really, really need to do that. We're talking Costa with United now, if you believe the reports that we're in for him, seemingly leading the race after what Ederson has said. And this is why it goes back to what I've spoke about on many occasions. What you sometimes have to do when it comes to football is drop the emotion and think about things on a more business, a more professional level. We're talking about that. We're talking Mbeumo as well. The here we go, when is it coming? Jacobs gave us another cracker on the show and broke that down as well. So, look, I'm excited about the Mbeumo news, excited about the Gyokeres update, and we will be talking goalkeepers on the show as well. Plus, look, this is your community, so if you want to lead the conversation, if you've got questions, get them in. We'll get the super chats up on the screen as well, because listen, those super chats are so important to the community, keeping it going, keeping it growing, and a big thank you from me and everybody else here at the United Stand team. Big up to everybody that's come across on the football terrace. We redirected here, so big up to my community over there. If you don't know me, and that's where you find me day to day. But look, I want to start with the goalkeeper situation, because for me, a number 9 is the most. Once Mbeumo is done, the next position for me is striker. Yes, but I do think the goalkeeping situation is very, very important indeed. Now, we've seen the links to Martinez. We've all read the reports that Martinez wants Man United. We've been offered a number of goalkeepers as well. You know, Man United have had agents of goalkeepers knocking on our door all summer. And it's still been said, and it still remains, that Man United, at least publicly, and I think we'll be very, very clear when we say this, at least publicly so far, Manchester United are yet to make their mind up about the Onana situation. My personal feeling, my personal preference is, my personal view is that United have made their mind up. I just think they're getting their ducks in a row. I think they're playing down their desire to move the goalkeeper on in an attempt to maintain a certain amount of value. That's all I personally think this is. So I'm going to respect the media reports and take them at their word. But of course, like you guys, I can think critically, I can read between the lines, etc. Now, this update, and I'm going to bring this to you here, says that one move I've been told to keep an eye on is Diogo Costa to Man United. Now, this comes from Anil Kandola, who is a reporter. He works at TalkSport. He says United's priority after Cunha and Mbeumo is a striker. But if sales are positive, they will look to upgrade on Andre Onana. The Portuguese international Costa is rated highly at United and is someone they are monitoring and could move for if their budget allows them to. Ineos still have high hopes they will have one of the busiest windows in recent history at Manchester United this summer. And I know, and especially here on the United Stand, I know a lot of people don't like Ineos. I don't like any kind of Ineos prop. And maybe will only praise their actions once they're complete. And I respect that. But I also think it could end up being a very busy summer. Anthony's exit is moving along nicely. Sancho looks like he's moving on. Juve closing in. And that may end up being around 21 to 22 million plus the 5 million. Turns out that obligation to buy with a buyout is going to lead to Man United getting more money for Jadon Sancho. Then it may only be 2 or 3 million, but every single penny helps. Is exactly what I've been asking the club to do for a long time. So the club are looking to do this. I like Costa. Personally, though, and I want to get your opinions on this. Maybe we can get a poll running, actually, if you would be so kind to look at that, please, Rob. Or whoever is producing and controlling the show. I assume it's you, Rob. We were talking, but you never know. If we can get a poll running here on who the United Stand would prefer as the new goalkeeper, Martinez or Diogo, and he said Diogo Costa. Now, for me, I prefer Martinez, and I am not buying in to this negative propaganda that I've seen, this gaslighting narrative that when people look at the stats, Emi Martinez and Costa, they're not that much better than Onana. The stats for goalkeepers is misleading if you ignore your eyes. If you ignore your eyes, you don't see the truth in this matter. And it's very clear to me, it's very obvious to me. Yes, you might see 6 errors leading to shots from Martinez and only 4 against Onana. But Onana doesn't necessarily make errors that statistically show as errors. So he's had a few passes out from the back that have led to goal-scoring opportunities. He's had a couple of times where he has fumbled the ball out and the ball's been put in the back of the net. What Onana does wrong doesn't come up on the stats. When he comes out for a cross and misses the ball and smashes into players, that doesn't show up on errors. When you see him dive the wrong way at shots, so twice against Forest this has happened in 2 seasons, where he's dived too early or dived the wrong way, it just says it counts as an unsaved shot. It doesn't show it as an error. And I don't believe Costa and I don't believe Emi Martinez do that with anywhere near the regularity that Onana does. The amount of times we can see goals at the back post from crosses, they just don't do that. You can find compilations and you can find moments where they have in their careers, especially Martinez, who's now 31. He's had a long career. So I like the look of it. I'm voting Emi Martinez personally, but you guys are smashing me to bits on that. You guys have gone with 73% so far. 73% with Costa. Now, what I will say is this. I have a preference, but I like both. And I always love this dynamic when it comes to a potential transfer. When you may get what you want and you're happy, but if you miss out and you get the second choice in your own mind, I'm still very happy. For me, Costa, the only other element with Costa that I'm a little on is the price. They're talking around a 50 million euro buyout, where there is a belief that you may be able to get Emi Martinez for nearer 25 million. So you're talking almost double the cost. I'm still edging towards Emi Martinez, but I do like Costa. I do rate Costa a lot. Keb here says, Saboko says age also matters. This is true. And I'd say the big advantage with Costa is that you're getting somebody now, I want to say that he is late 20s. I want to say late 20s. 25 actually, turns 26 this year, so a little bit younger than I thought actually. That does give you a much, if he comes in and is a success, you might have him for 8, 9, 10 years. Where with Martinez, even if he's amazing, you still maybe only talking 4 or 5 at best. So actually, if you weigh up say it's £40 million you can get Costa for, if you have him for 9 to 10 years, and Martinez costs 25 million, but you only have him for 3 or 4, on a cost per season level, Diogo Costa is maybe the better option in that regard. But I think it's really positive that Man United are looking at this. Yes, we know that the striker. Yes, we know that creativity. Yes, we know goals is an important area. Man United want to almost fix, if they can, that entire department of the club. New number 9, 2 new 10s, Bruno, Ahmad in those areas, and then the likes of Xerxes and co as the kind of backup players and the fringe players. United will go into the season feeling very confident, and I don't know about you, very confident they'll score goals. Getting a goalkeeper, though, that we are all very to amazingly confident in, I think it's imperative. I think it's absolutely, because I don't know about you guys, how many times have you watched the game and the ball comes in and you just go, no. Every time a ball gets crossed in, I panic. I hold my breath. Every shot at Onana, good, bad or indifferent, I hold my breath and worry. That level of stress ain't good. I'm turning 40 soon. I'm turning 40. I don't need that extra stress when watching football. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, for me, I like it. I really do. And I hope we get one of these two. I hope we bring in a new goalkeeper. I think it's very, very important for the football club to get that done. But as ever, people, I want your views. I want your opinions on this in the comment section below. We have a super chat here from Zane, who says, I want Costa personally, but I'll be happy with Martinez. Either will do. Get Onana out. He will cost us a chance of top 4. Listen, Zane, I agree with you if he stays. We could buy 2-3 world-class midfielders, another attacker. We could buy Liverpool's entire squad, Zane, and put it on the pitch. But with Onana in goal, there's still a chance we wouldn't make the top 4. Because I think he is so bad, or has been so bad for United, this man will cost you 8 to 10 games a season. Do you know why I believe that? Look how good Liverpool were last year. Look at City's Centurions. Look at Arsenal's Invincibles. Look at Man United's Premier League and Champions League winning teams. The treble in 99, the double in 2008. Some of the best teams to ever play in this country. Go back and review how many games were tight. How many games were won 3-2, 2-1, 1-0. Those narrow victories. A goalkeeper like Onana creates a genuine dynamic where you lose a lot of those narrow games. You go back and watch Brentford-Liverpool last year where Liverpool scored 2 late goals to win it from Nunez. Go and look at some of the saves Ederson had to make in that game. And some of the money in saves, some of the crosses he had to be commanding on. Some of the balls into the box where he had to just be at his best and to concede no cheap goals. If cheap goals go in there, the whole dynamic changes. The whole season could be different. So it's absolutely imperative that you have the right goalkeeper. This member chat here from Jay says, what do you think of John Botafogo, Brazilian and a Brazilian champion? I haven't watched too much of them play, actually. I'll tell you who I have seen that I like it on the World Club Cup. I think his name is Wesley. Plays for Flamengo, the right back. It's only one game. Granted, really impressed with him. But no, I haven't. I'll have a little look. Turbin of Benfica and Lumin of Madrid. Lumin, talented. I don't know much about John or the Benfica goalkeeper, to be fair. In terms of, I haven't watched them. I've seen Benfica play a few times this year, but I haven't kind of focused on the goalkeeper. But maybe that shows he's good. I think sometimes if you don't notice a goalkeeper, it shows they're doing their job right. Now, I did see him concede 4 or 5 goals to Barcelona, but I didn't necessarily think the goalkeeper was at fault for that. This comment here from Sinead says, where does he go and for how much? Look, with Onana, that's also where United have got to be very, very smart and very, very clever. What we should not do is, if we can help it, is take a loss. And we've got to be very careful of having a book loss. So if we can create a situation where the money we have to pay this season for him and most of his salary is covered, along with the kind of obligation to buy, financially that might suit Man United more than selling him and having a small book loss this year. So there's that to weigh up. Of course, there are clubs interested in him. What I heard about Monaco was very much they were interested, but he doesn't want to go there, or he's asking for too much money. So that's a difficult thing. And United, as much as we're trying to have a big summer, we are still financially restrained after 12 years of malpractice in the financial element of the club and every element of the club. We've got to be prudent. We've got to be thrifty, and we have to be smart in this. But yeah, he is a difficult player to move on. That being said, none of us ever thought we'd be, Anthony would go. Not only is Anthony willing to go, he's willing to take a pay cut because he's so happy at Real Betis. So I have faith we can get that done. I have faith that we can move some of these players on. But as ever, look, get that like button smash. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Moving on from that story, we're going to come to Mbeumo in a minute. I want to speak about the striker situation because the update that I just got from Ben Jacobs, so exciting. So exciting to me. What he stated was, and I want to make sure I word this right because I had to ask him back. So he said that Arsenal are negotiating for both Šeško and Gyokeres. That is the Bursa approach. He works on both deals. He gets them both near to completion. That is why we're seeing stories from some journalists saying it's going to be Gyokeres, others saying it's going to be Šeško, because they're all being fed different bits of information. Both players are being told they're a top priority. So you're going to get a contrast and a differing of this situation. But what he said put a little smile on my face. But I don't want to get carried away. And that is my only message to you all. Let's not get carried away, but let's pray to whichever God you pray to. If you don't pray to a God and you're an atheist, I don't know, pray to whatever. You know, put out some, you know, talk to some crystals if you do that. Talk to a wind chime. You know, just put it out, the good energy into the universe, as people say. But what he stated, I loved. And it was this. The problem with both deals is both Sporting and Leipzig, respectively, are demanding more money than Arsenal are willing to pay. Sporting, there is an agreement of, I think, 60 million in totality to let Gyokeres go. Currently, Sporting are like asking for 80 odd, including bonuses. Arsenal are willing to pay 70 million for Šeško. I think that's euros, by the way. But they're asking for somewhere near a 90 plus at the moment. So Arsenal are negotiating to get that down. Arsenal also feel by pushing both deals close to completion, you will eventually force the clubs to drop their price. Ben Jacobs' view is, and I quote, no, I don't quote because I'm not saying it verbatim, I'm paraphrasing, but that if Arsenal get both prices to where they want them to be, and if they can get Šeško at the price they're happy with and Gyokeres for the price they're happy with, Arsenal will pick Šeško. That made me smile. Now, again, I'm not going to pretend that that's a guarantee. Leipzig may decide we're not dropping our asking price, so Arsenal do end up going for Gyokeres. That is a distinct possibility. What I love about this is that Ben Jacobs, along with the likes of Plattenberg, Sammy McBell, who's very connected at Arsenal, said last night that if all things go to plan, Šeško comes in. Now, what Sammy McBell has said echoes to what Jacobs said less than an hour ago on my platform, The Football Terrace, and that was that if they get the price to where they want it, Šeško is the main guy. What does this mean for Manchester United? Look, again, Damasio, by the way, yesterday said the opposite, said it will be Gyokeres, but we'll see. And we reported on that last night on the terrace that they've agreed the deal between the player and the club. And this is probably it. This is where Damasio is probably, you know, if Damasio is getting his information from the Gyokeres camp, they do feel like they're going Arsenal right now. They're bending over backwards. They're refusing to go to training. But what does this mean for Man United? Well, there was a report yesterday that Liverpool were going to look at Gyokeres. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, well, Arsenal and Man United are both screwed. That's kind of been pushed back as though it's not going to happen. Liverpool are not showing interest in him. It's going to be Isak or Ekitike are the two names. Maybe Šeško, but not Gyokeres. So if Arsenal get Gyokeres for the right price, and that's, you know, I think we can help that by pushing it out into the universe and praying and talking to those crystals that some people speak to. You know, everyone has different things they do at home. You know, whatever it is, do it. It means Man United have almost a clear run at Gyokeres, who, if Man United would have made it into the Champions League, it's been very well reported that there would have been a 99% certainty that we get the player. Gyokeres has said that he hasn't rejected Man United. He's got a preference of Arsenal because of where they stand in the league, Champions League football. But he is very open to the idea of becoming a Man United player. He doesn't, like, Champions League football is a bonus, but it isn't a must. So for me, the exciting factor here is, and look, I like Benjamin Šeško. I don't think it's a bad signing for Arsenal. I really don't. I don't live in that world, in that camp that says Šeško is overrated, he's not a very good player. I think that is cap. I think that is massively exaggerated. Hugely exaggerated. However, and there is a however here, if they do that, I think it's a mistake because I still think Gyokeres is better. But if my club, if your club can benefit from Arsenal's decision of going for Šeško, I'm all over it. I don't care that his preference was Arsenal. Couldn't give a damn. This isn't dating. This isn't dating. It's not emotional. You're not trying to find a wife. You're not trying to find a husband. You know? This is a business situation for these professional football players. They don't view clubs, typically speaking, how you and I as fans do. Even if he joins and kisses the badge and says, I love it here, they don't love the club like we do. Even a lot of the players that grow up supporting us don't necessarily love the club like we do. That's why you've seen players that are supporters of clubs like Trent Alexander-Arnold leave, because on a professional level, he wants to try something different. So I don't care about the being second and not first choice. Bring me better players. Improve my team. Because on that opening day of the season, if he's putting balls in the back of the net, if Gyokeres is scoring goals, gelling well with Mbeumo, looking brilliant with Cunha and Bruno, putting balls in the back of the net that Doku and Ahmad and Dalot are putting in, I don't care what his preference was. If he's delivering for us, I couldn't give a monkeys. Couldn't care less. Bring me better players. There's time for romance and emotion in football. There really is. But for me, that is coupled with getting better players. When Robin Van Persie joined Man United, he left Arsenal because Arsenal weren't willing to pay him what he wanted, and they weren't fulfilling his ambition. But had they turned around and went, well, there's extra money, and look at our transfer plan to improve the squad, he would have picked staying at Arsenal over going to Man United. So you can twist things, you can turn things, you can look at things through different perspectives. A lot of players you sign are due to the current club they're at not having the right size, structure, money, ambition. Where if they did have all those things, they may not join you. So I'm not married to this idea that a player's got to pick us every single time. And I get that, well, Ineos have said they're only going to sign players that want to be at the club. Yeah, they didn't specify and say we're only going to sign players who see us as the absolute first choice. Because again, Cunha wanted to join us, but would it have been different if Barca came in? Would it have been different if PSG came in? Maybe, in the short term. You know, but you're not going to ask him that question. He wanted to join. And if Gyokeres wants to join, I am all over it. Did I just call Dorgu Doku? Sorry, my apologies. Anyway, Gyokeres has every right to be cautious where he goes from Lee, by the way. Where he goes, it's his last chance at a big contract. He wants Champions League football. So he's right to be cautious. It's his first and last major contract at a giant club. And he has to pick right. He has to get it right. The right club, the right system. Yes, there's no Champions League football at Man, or any European football at Man United this year. But I do believe if you look at the players we're linked to, with him, with Mbeumo and with Cunha, if we get that goalkeeper and we add that athletic midfielder into this team, we could push for a Champions League space. We could push for it. We will certainly, in my opinion, have an amazing chance of a European position. We'd have a good chance of winning one of the domestic trophies. Anyone who says we don't is a fool. We got to a final last year, and the same squad in the previous 2 seasons, or a lot of the same squad. You'd argue the squads are better now if we get all these players. Won an FA Cup and a League Cup, respectively, got to back-to-back FA Cup finals. So we'd have a chance of doing those things with these types of players. So, yeah, of course he's got to be cautious. He's got to make sure he's doing the right thing. The little pre-march, I don't know what that means, but it says, I wouldn't want any player at my beloved United if they don't want to try and be part of our history. I'll always remember Roy Keane saying after we won the treble, right, what's next? Yeah, and I understand that. But on a professional level, yes, he might prefer Arsenal right now. But if Arsenal don't buy him, and then he comes to us, and he delivers, would you care? The only time I agree with you, and I wouldn't want to sign a player that isn't bought into the idea of Man United at all, is if we said, look, there's 200 grand a week, and he says, no, I want Arsenal. Oh, look, there's 250 a week. No, I want Arsenal. Come on. Okay, there's 700 grand a week. Oh, I'll join. I don't want us to overpay players by exorbitant amounts of money to turn their heads. That's the road to ruin. We saw it with Di Maria. We saw this with Alexis Sanchez, to name just a couple. We need to sign players that have a desire of some level to play for us. And I think Gyokeres does. There's just another club right now he'd rather play for more. But doesn't mean he wouldn't be bought into our ideas. And I think we need to be really mindful of how we discuss that, personally. David here says, with Gyokeres and Costa, we'll definitely do much better than Nuno with Nottingham Forest. Amorim is a million times better. Look, for me, I haven't really mentioned Amorim much at all this summer. But we had a few games towards the end of the season where we were bad. Well, I still think our biggest issue was not having the right types of players to make the process, to make the process more palatable, to make the football look better, and to win more games. So many matches were narrow last year, but we came out the other side. 1, terrible goalkeeper. 2, barely anybody could score goals. I believe with the front three that we may assemble this summer, and with the new goalie, you put those 4 players into that squad from January to the end of the season, I think we win 6 more games in the league, maybe even 7. You had those points on, we're sitting like 7th or 8th, and no one's panicking about this season. I don't think it's about changing the system completely. It's about adding the right players into it, and some of the players we're linked to are right up there. Adding Terry to the United stand was a great idea. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And get that like button hit, though, if you haven't done so already. Oh, what's this up there? I've just seen. Nothing to do with United. Oh, what's this? Oh, is that another on-steam bomb for Arsenal? Arsenal are working on a deal to sign Christian Mosquera from Valencia. Interesting indeed. That's a big one. It's another deal for Arsenal. They're moving fast. I don't know much about it. I'm going to do some research, but wow, there we go. I'm sure that's going to make Arsenal fans angry. I'm sure it's going to make Arsenal fans lose their minds, but there we go. Let's get back to what we're talking about here, though, about Manchester United. Amorim was asleep during the Europa League final, to be honest. I didn't see an elite coach in that match, respectfully. Look, he didn't have a great night, and I think he should have made some changes earlier, and he definitely made some mistakes. He's not impervious to that, but listen, it's the order in which you do things. It's the first final he's been in, and it didn't go well. But before Sir Alex Ferguson, and I'm using Sir Alex not as a comparison, they're as good as each other. I'm pointing out that Fergie is much better and still did this. It took Fergie until like 5 or 6 seasons in to even get to a final and win it, which means, so again, you don't even need to watch the games. What that means is that in multiple cup games in his first 2, 3, 4 years, he was failing to coach the team right. If a manager didn't coach well enough in the final for United to win, cool. But a manager that doesn't get to the finals has also done that in lesser rounds, right? So I don't think it's a smudge on his sheet. It's a smudge on the ledger, but I don't think it defines him, if that makes sense. So for me, it's definitely something I criticise him for, but nowhere near enough for me to go, right, I'm absolutely fundamentally writing this guy off. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that is what you have said, my friend. I'm not suggesting that for a second. I see Ian's comment here, says reunited. Now, Ian has got the best PR. I hope Man United definitely watch the United stand. I'm going to repeat what Ian said. Ian said when the Mbeumo news came out that they were going to that he picked us. Ian called into my show on the Football Terrace and he said that he could see the marketing now. He said we get Victor Gyokeres, and the picture that Man United put out is Amorim walking into Old Trafford or Carrington with his arm around Gyokeres, and the title of the picture is Reunited, and I love that. I want Man United to steal that idea from Ian. In fact, not steal it. They should pay him a consultancy fee for the marketing, because that will break the internet, and it gets all a little bit more excited for the season. Sim here says, I want United to hijack Tikai. The Takai deal from Spurs, young, talented Japanese international centre-back. Watch him play for Kawasaki and the Japan national team. Again, I know very little about him at all, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all and pretend that I know something. What I will say about Japanese football players generally is the technical ability is good. They have I remember reading that they have a kind of a Barcelona blueprint to how they teach their kids to play football. So I wouldn't be, again, I don't know much about him individually, but there's a decent player in there, I reckon. This comment here from Ryan says, "Hi Terry, if we don't get Gyokeres or Osimhen, what options do we have, seeing that we can't get the freedom fighter sold?" Well, freedom fighters. So Anthony will go, I'm very sure of it. Sancho looks like he's almost gone. And we've got to remember, if we get, let's put the lower estimate in here. So it's a really good question. So there's talk today we're going to get £22 million for Sancho. Okay. Plus 5 million from Chelsea has come in. That's £27 million. Plus his wages for the next year are £10.5 million. That currently is a debt. And I know this because I did my accounts yesterday with my accountant. My staff that I pay it's already kind of built into the system that does our calculations. It's a debt for this next year we owe, unless I remove those people from the business. I'm not doing that. So the wages that Sancho has assigned to him, it's already put into United's budget. We have committed to spending it. It's in a pot somewhere. You get that back when he's sold. So that deal would make and save Manchester United £37.5 million. If we are able to, now we owe around 16.5 million on him still that we have to give to Dortmund. So that means in total £21 million profit, or money saved. It actually works out the same difference here. I'm speaking in layman terms on that Sancho deal. Anthony is very similar. I believe that if we get £32 million or more, we break even on what we still owe on him, plus the salary. If we end up getting nearer that 40 million mark, again, we're making a 8 to 10 million pound profit, plus we're removing the salary, which adds, you add that into the equation, you're talking about 16 million pounds. So if you add that into the situation, you're talking about a combined total of around 37 million pound profit if we get decent prices for Anthony and Sancho, and that looks like it's happening. The difficult one is Rashford at the moment, because there's not many people biting, but that's because he only wants Barcelona. So he is putting himself in a category of I only want Barca. If we are able to do that, and we're able to get a £40 million transfer for him, as an example, that's £40 million in, so that's 77 in total, plus you're saving around 12.5 million a year in his salary, which is currently already committed. That goes back into the pot. We're now at 90 million pounds. You've got the Garnacho situation. Let's say we get 50 million for him. Okay. You're then looking at that pot increasing to 139 million. His wages are a lot lower. He's only on around £50,000 a week. I know that's a lot to you and I, but let's just add around 3.5 million ballpark in his salary savings. It's 143 million. Now remember, that money can then be amortized. So you're not spending that all in one go. So you theoretically could spend 3 times that amount. That's how much you never commit to 5 times that amount. You've got to give yourself leeway if signings don't work out. That gives you a pot of around 400 million if those players leave. 2 of them, the reports feel really close or almost a guaranteed. Rashford and Garnacho are a little bit harder. So what are the options? Well, look, United are moving for a striker next. So getting rid of all those players isn't essential to moving for one. You look at the names that are out there. Interestingly, the Šeškos and the Ekatikes are actually more expensive options than potentially Mateta's, than Victor Gyokeres'. Osimhen's a little bit more expensive. His salary is a lot higher. That's a player that Man United have discussed internally, according to Laurie Whitwell, but isn't necessarily somebody that we're going to go after, because reports suggest the salary demands are £400,000 to £500,000 a week, and United are in a position where they don't necessarily want to break the wage structure at this point when they're trying to lower it. Not because they're being cheap, but they're trying to get it stable. And you suddenly bring a new player in who's on that money. If he does well, but then 2 or 3 other players also do as well as them, they're knocking on that door saying, well, we want the same money. And suddenly you start burning through cash a little bit too quickly. United believe they can get other strikers that can score similar amounts of goals on less money. And that's also sensible, because if you end up with too high a wage bill, you run out of money to reinvest into the team. So it's very important to get both things right, and you have to focus on the money at times as well. Very, very important indeed. It's a really good question, that, my friend. One of the other bits of news today I wanted to touch on, which I think is really key, is the Mbeumo situation. And I sat down and spent a bit of time talking about this with Ben Jacobs earlier on today as well. And he said, look, I said, it seems like it's all but done. He goes, I wouldn't say that because I don't want to sort of play down the negotiation process. But what he then went on to say told me it's pretty much all done. It appears there is a fee in principle that's agreed, the base fee plus add-ons. It's going to be in and around 55 to 60 million base, rising up to around 65 million pounds with add-ons, which puts it slightly above the player's market value. But Brentford were asking for 70 million pound base plus add-ons just 2 to 3 weeks ago. It would show United have done the right thing by negotiating this down. It means the guaranteed amount is at least 10 million below that, if not 15 million. So it puts United into a stronger position in that regard. That money then, invest in somebody else. But I'm excited about this player. And we've spent a lot of time talking about the deals and the money, which is great. And I enjoy that kind of conversation. But we have to focus on the player. And Bryan Mbeumo is a phenomenal football player. In every single way, shape and form, he is a phenomenal football player. The way he plays, the way he creates, the way he moves. There is such a top football player in there. I absolutely love what he does. There's a directness when he needs to be. He can score goals. He can create. I haven't been this excited about new attackers coming into Manchester United for many a year. The last time I probably felt like this is when we signed Zlatan, if I'm being honest. Now, I've been excited about other attackers, but this man is just excellent. And what I love is this Prem-proven approach. I love the fact that what we're doing here is saying, right, let's go out and let's buy players that we know can play in this league, that we know can deliver in this league, and let's go out and see if we can make them really work for us. Cunha's already through the door. We know about his talents. We know his quality. What we're then looking at, as we say, is Mbeumo. I love those two in the 10 roles. They can operate in the 9 if they need to. Maybe injuries in the game. Maybe you want to go for a different tactical approach. What I love about Mbeumo as well is that he can go out wide. So we may be in a situation in a game where we decide we want to invert a fullback. So, when we've had to play Maz in the wing-back position, it's been frustrating because he can't maraud down the wing. But what you can do with Maz is invert him, and then you've got Mbeumo to give us the width, which we were able to do quite well at times last season with Garnacho going out into the wide areas. But we had no one really on the right-hand side that could do that too well. Ahmad could, and I like Ahmad doing it, but he was only one. Now what we have is a couple of players that can do that, and I'm really excited about that prospect in this team. So yeah, I think we're going to get the here we go or the official announcements. I feel like it's really close to something being said. I was told yesterday by a really good source, a guy connected to Man United, that it is all essentially done. It's just a case of crossing I's and dotting T's in that way. So yeah, look, really exciting times ahead, I think, in relation to this deal. I want your thoughts on it now that it's essentially done. How are you feeling about it? What do you think about it? What do you feel about it? How excited are you? How do you think he's going to do at the club? Because that's the fun part of the conversation, I think, when you sign somebody, is that anticipation, is that excitement to watch them in their first game. And I think what's even more important than that on the football level is the fact that it looks like we're going to have at least 2. I want at least, my magic number was 3 new players for pre-season. Looks like we're going to get at least 2. Hopefully we get a third. On top of that, do you all remember those stories that were coming down from March to May? United are only going to sign kids. United are just going to try and do the Chelsea approach. They're not going to sign experience. I love the fact that our first 2 deals are mid to late 20s, prem-proven athletes and men. Because what that should do for us as fans, it should teach us, it should show us to not to disregard every story that's written, but to not lose our minds. Because I know people in this community did, because I was on shows here. I watched shows. I know United fans all around the world were losing their minds. What are we doing? How the hell are we going for this player? Why would we do this? Why would we do that? This is crazy. We need to do better, etc., etc. For me, this should again help us to at least stay calm. This should help us to at least stay relaxed and go, okay, the media have said we're not buying a new goalkeeper. Maybe instead of losing our minds, maybe instead of doing our nuts, we go, hang on, but they also said we were going to only sign kids. They also said we had no money to spend. They also said Mbeumo was going to go Newcastle. They also said this. They also said that. And they were wrong. Could it not be that they've misunderstood or they've slightly twisted that we don't want a new goalkeeper? Could it be that they're slightly twisting, or it's not strictly true that the club believe Rasmus can become Haaland 2.0 and that's why they're sticking with him? Could it not just be that they're misrepresenting that information that's come out? Could it not just be that they're saying that to the media to publish it because they're doing everything they can publicly to not lower the value of these players even more than their bad performances have done? Isn't that at least logical? Isn't there enough? I get we want to see the club improve. But shouldn't this make us not love Ineos, not love the Glazers, not say, oh, thank you guys, love you. But shouldn't this make us at least go, I don't like that news, but I'm going to calm down? Because one of the biggest narratives that was pushed by the mainstream media from March to May was we were doing a Chelsea project. It was going to be kids, lack of experience, kids. So far, it has been the complete opposite. So logic dictates many of the other claims could also be wrong as well. Like I've said all along, you're allowed to criticize. I don't blame you. You're allowed to feel how you want. I'm not telling you not to. I'm saying I'm keeping myself firmly on this fence. Yep, I've got to handle a few splinters every now and then. But I am waiting to see the proof in the pudding before I overly assess good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not totally convinced by Mbeumo, is what Elvin said here. That's fair. Do us a favour, though, and break that down, please. Orange says, Terry, Liverpool are in the race for Gyokeres from The Guardian. Yeah, I've seen others say he is. I've seen others say he isn't, so we will see with that one. Christian says, Premier League proven players, Martinez is the goalkeeper. Christian Patey, that's why I like him. Terry, if we don't get Gyokeres... Oh, sorry, we've done that comment there. Thank you. Thank you very much as well to Tyrus for gifting out a membership, and that went to Ian. Big up, Ian. I know Ian, he comes on the Football Terrace. He got the membership. I like that. Nice. Terry, I still think Bruno doesn't work as a 6 in the pivot. It could be a big weak point in our team next season. I agree with what you're saying. It could be. We were never going to fix all the problems in this team this summer. There's going to still be some weak points. So, but for me, keeping Bruno short term, but maybe fixing the attack, adding another athletic midfield player, and fixing the goalkeeper, strengthening the defence as well. With Bruno being a 6, I can cope with it. I'd rather that than fix that position and still have Onana. And we can only do so much. We cannot fix every single position. Maybe we will. Maybe we will go and get Belieber. I'm throwing a name out there, right? Spitballing here. You know, Mainu's working terribly hard this summer. You have Mainu and you got Belieber. Bruno goes into that mix with them. And you go, okay, you know, you can get away with that for a year. You know, Ugarte's in there for breaking up play when he needs to be. And you look at that midfield 4 then, that 4 players, and go, that's really good. You know, I hope Cass goes, you know, and we invest that money wisely. But I do get your point. Ask Arsenal and Bayern fans if they would still take... I've missed that super chat. Let me try and find that comment. Where's that gone? Ask Arsenal and Bayern fans if they would still take Nico Williams if the Barca deal collapses. I would take Gyokeres all day long. That's from Chuffbridge. Look, Of course they would. Look, you get some people that are overly emotional and sentimental. And do you know what I really find funny about that, right? Is they'll be the same people that talk about standards and not being... They'll say, we can't buy on emotion. We shouldn't renew a contract on emotion. We've got to be ruthless. The player's too old, let him go. Yes, that player was brilliant for us 5 years ago, but he's finished now. Move on, be ruthless. We're going to sign a player that initially said no to us. No. No way should we sign a player like that. Well, now you're making emotional decisions that you complain about the club doing. There is no consistency in what's being said here. I agree with their point. You shouldn't keep players because of sentimentality. You equally shouldn't not sign a player because of sentimentality. Maybe if you're Liverpool Football Club and the person writes a weekly article for The Sun and has mocked Hillsborough, as in the player did once, that's not sentimental. That's something that's very important and very emotional for the football club. You don't sign someone who's done that. Man United the same if somebody was being disrespectful about Munich and things like that. Maybe if you sign someone that's had a lot of clashes with the club and there's a real horrible feeling. But someone just saying, right now they're my preference, and that deal's fallen through, or I've changed my mind, I want to come here now. That for me, I don't think we should be sentimental about in any capacity, in my personal opinion. I think that would just be ridiculous to do. I want better players. Big up yourself from Dallas. Big up Howard over there in Dallas. Look at how many minutes Robin Olsen played this season. Martinez was good in the Champions League, but poor in the league. He struggles with consistency and is suited more to knockout tournaments. It's a fair point, Jack. This is from Ryan. He says, has anyone else heard that Newcastle are wanting Rashford and are now the front runners? Yeah, I've heard some of that. I don't know what they're going to do about his salary. The man's on 300 odd K a week, according to one report I read today. And there's no way they can afford that. No way. So even if they loaned him and we paid half of it for a year and they gave us a loan fee and then an obligation for 40 million, he still isn't going to want to take a pay cut. So we'll see what happens there. But I think if United, that's why United want to sell. They want that. They want the wages off the books. Like his wages help us go out and buy a really good player. Hey Terry, what's regarding Sancho linked with Juve? Yeah, I've read today that they're willing to bid 22 million. Napoli may have pulled out the deal. Fenerbahce might even offer up to £30 million for him. But it does appear that currently he's kind of favouring a move nearer to Serie A than going to the Turkish league at this point. Michael here says, good morning, Terry, from Western Canada. Great job. Thank you very much, bro, for tuning in over there in Western Canada. So that's obviously a vast amount of land, but thank you. I think 300k a week with bonuses. Hi, Terry, mates. De Gea. Don't know what you're trying to say there. The football club need to sign a right winger. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need a right winger. We don't play with wingers anymore. So we don't really need right wingers. Lee here says, Rashford wants Barca. Barca don't want to pay. It's not news. Yeah, I think that's going to be one that drags on, to be fair, which is unfortunate, really. Baz here says he needs a payout wherever he goes. Nico Williams is only getting 150 euros a week. Rashford will only get paid in Saudi. Yeah, this is true. This is true. He's got to weigh out what's right for him. He really does. Yes, Alex, I am keeping well, thank you. My laryngitis is almost gone now. It's still a little sore in my throat, but it's getting better. I feel like I'm getting a bit of zip back to my voice, but I'm still trying to talk as kind of slow and easy as possible as to not damage it at all, because it was really bad. Like last week, I was really panicking about what was going to happen to my voice. it just weren't coming back, and I spoke for more than a minute, and my throat would just start burning. So it's a little sore right now, but certainly getting better. Let's have a look at some more of your comments that are coming through here. They're not loading on my screen. Right, they're up now. They're up. Now they're gone. Come on, load, please. What happened to Mount? Nothing. He's on holiday. Turner here says, Ugarte, Mainu, Collier should be ready to be on the receiving end of abuse. All of Bruno's weaknesses will be projected on them. Not by Man United fans. You'll get that from Bruno's fanboys and Bruno's haters. They'll create those arguments. But Manchester United fans will criticise Bruno for his mistakes and criticise others for their mistakes. We are not going to do that, in my personal opinion. Not at all. Real Man United fans won't do it. Will you take Carnegie? I wouldn't take Trafford in the second part. The other guy I don't know enough about to give you a comprehensive answer. Terry, any news on Garnacho wanting what's happening with him? There's been no real updates. Fabrizio said about 3 weeks ago that there's a 35% chance of Chelsea. They've mentioned Arsenal as a potential destination. You excuse me, kids had me up stupid o'clock this morning. So there is a potential there, but nothing has really developed or progressed in recent days and weeks in relation to that deal. So that's still very much one to watch. Can't wait to see Mbeumo in a United shirt. This is from Dean, by the way. He says, cooking on that pitch. Most excited about his signing. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Gonna be a bit weak in the middle with Bruno sitting deep unless Ugarte can step up. Yeah, I mean, let's see what we do. I mean, the reason I'm not panicking about it now is because, how do I say this in the right way? Why am I not panicking? The reason I'm not panicking is because we are linked to getting a midfield player. I mean, there was a talk today of, what's his name? I can't remember his name. His name has now eluded me. I'm gonna go and find it. I don't know if I bookmarked it. Central midfielder at PSG. Zaire Emery. And again, will be a very difficult deal for us to go and get done. But do I really like about it? It's, you see us linked to a player like him and United fans go, stupid, won't get him. Then you see us linked to a player a tier or two below of quality. Why can't we go for better? Well, every time we're linked to better, you say it's impossible. Every time we're linked to worse than the category you want, you say it's not good enough. Almost as if people want to moan. Rather than, I'm not saying we're getting him. I'm like, that's a good link. I like that. I'd like that player. This year from Krishna says, love you guys. Hashtag the United stand from India with passion. Big up yourself, Krishna. I appreciate that. Terry, don't forget our number one striker target was Delap. Right? I'm aware. And he didn't pick us, which is why I'm not emotional about the Gyokeres situation. He wasn't our number one. And now we're going for him. Because it's business. Diego, yeah, do you know what, Douglas? I've seen this link to Douglas Luiz, and again, he's a player that's a bit like how I look at the Martinez in goal. I think short term could be very, very good for us. 2 to 3 years could really help to improve the midfield as we grow and build out from there. I think that would be excellent. Bruno plays 6 well for Portugal. The only reason he doesn't play it well at United is because everything is down to him and he pushes too hard. With the new signings, he can ball. Well, that's the train of thought. There's a train of thought that he'll improve if the team improves, like he does for Portugal. And I hope you're right. Not so I can say, yes, Bruno. It's so I can say, yes, Man United are better. Because that's all my motivation is. I think Manu is the one for us. Everything we complain that he's not. We played like it's under Ten Hag. I think Amorim's system is rigid for the Prem. Maybe. Winning the Europa League, we could have got the lap. But winning the Europa League, we could have got Gyokeres. Not winning the Europa League, we could get Gyokeres. Let that sink in. Yeah, I think right now that's how everybody views it. But if the lap's killing it over the next 2 years and just turns into this colossal striker, then everybody's going to understand why at £30 million we went for him. Some of these deals don't always make sense up front. They often make sense in a year or two's time, to be honest with you. When United went and signed Ronaldo as the Beckham replacement, it got laughed at in this country because nobody knew much about him. 3 years later, when he's winning Ballon d'Ors, 4 years later when he's winning Ballon d'Ors and Champions Leagues, everybody realised, oh, bloody hell, that's why they did it. Look, I want to thank each and every single person who's tuned in this afternoon. Get yourselves liking this. Get yourselves subscribing. The show's back 8 p.m. Make sure you're here. I'm not sure if it's Mark on. I assume it is. But make sure you're back here for the Man United updates. If you want to see me again, I'm live at 5 p.m. on my platform, The Football Terrace. We've got the Top 6 show where we cover all things Top 6 related. We've got a panel on as well, which will be really good fun. So if you want to join us over there, that's amazing. Mine and Mark's podcast is also now out on The Football Terrace as well. It was released yesterday. So if you want to go watch that, if you haven't yet, that'd also be amazing. But until next time, all of you, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.